Alright, everybody that's been following my post know that I've got these Depo DRL headlights, and for my 2007 Lexus IS250, these are the 2011 and up style with the DRL strips at the bottom here. I've got this lens, this lens has been taken apart. I've faked it open. I'm doing my retrofit right now, so I've got it open and wrapped just to keep dust and protected, but the DRL and the lenses and the bezels are all part of the lens. So the one thing I noticed about these is that they don't have the board, the control board, like the actual OEM style and even the aftermarket OEM style ones at the bottom of the DRL. So there's this mount right here. They've got the holes and everything for them, but they don't have the board like the OEMs would. Even the Depo Aftermarket replacement ones that cost twice as much as these, that have the HIDs and everything designed for a crash replacement, they've got that board, but these don't have it. These were $400, $425 right now. They come with halogen projectors, which I'm retrofitting to LED projectors right there. Got the bracket fitted. I got to put it all back together and kind of test the rotation on my car to make sure everything's good before I permanently screw them down and put my washers and everything so they're set on that bracket. But anyway, so what I did was, so I took it apart. So instead of having that board, what this thing has is it's got this little, I think it's some kind of buck boost type of regulator. What I tested it, just the leads coming in and out, and it's got a maximum output of 0.6 amps coming out of it when I use my multimeter in amp mode. So it's got quite a bit of good enough juice to power most DRL LEDs. Then but it's got one output. It doesn't have the high-low or any of the other functions like the OEM ones would. So I decided to buy one of these. This is one of those China DRL controllers. They've got tons of them on eBay. They go anywhere from $2 to I paid $13 for this from a US seller. Got it here 3 days. But it's the same one that you could probably buy from China for $2 up to $7 and take a month to get to you. So what the features of these, if you look at so they come, the main thing that these, you actually plug up the red and black to the battery, and it's going to sense your alternator voltage of 14 volts, and it's going to automatically switch on. They also has the blue wire right here. You could actually hook it up to ACC power, and it'll actually come on when it senses just 12 volts. So that's on my bench test right now. I've got it plugged up to the power and the ACC wire there, and then I've got it on the ground and plugged up to my Dell power supply that I use for all my light testing. So, but one of the other features it does, it's got its high-low mode. You plug up the white wire to your headlight or your parking light, and then each one of the pigtails on the ends has a yellow wire on it, which is it'll actually flash your DRLs as turn signals in turn signal mode. And this one's got one other optional feature that some of the China ones have and some don't, and it's the green wire, which is the strobe wire. It's got strobe, which is not really on this wiring diagram, but it'll strobe your lights when it gets power. So I guess one of the advertisers, you hook that up to your horn or something, and when you press your horn, it strobes your headlights or your DRLs. At first I thought I could just plug this thing up straight to the DRL board and it would work, but apparently this Depo one, it's got some kind of either pulse width or some kind of signal that causes it to actually turn those on correctly, because right now I've got it all plugged up and wired up, and if I plug power to my Dell power supply, doesn't do anything. Lights don't come on, nothing. I actually multimeter. I'm gonna test the voltage, make sure I'm getting, you know, power to the, you know, from the DRL controller. And it's actually picking up 11.9 volts. So it's getting power, it's not turning on the DRL. So apparently there must be some kind of safety or something built into the DRL board to not let it power by anything other than its own power supply. So, so I wired up the Depo controller. I don't have the capacitor or whatever this is in here connected. It's basically wired in parallel to the Depo wire harness. I'm assuming it's some kind of capacitor bank to keep that from flickering during voltage, you know, different voltage up and down on the car. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to plug in the power supply over here, and the DRLs come on. So I'm still trying to figure out if this is the full output or the low output on the OEM. I've never seen the OEM ones in person, like studied it or stood in front of it. I've seen it driving down the road and online, but it's very hard to capture the full brightness or the actual brightness of these LEDs on camera. You know, it looks bright on camera, but in person, I don't feel as, you know, I've got a 2015 Sienna over here that's got, you know, SC that's got the DRL headlights. And when I turn those on, they're blinding if I stand in front of them. These I can stand and they're not that bright. So it could be the LEDs, it could be the cheap Depo reflectors that it uses, because the way the LEDs are mounted, they're actually facing up, you know, and then they bounce off a reflector and they diffuse on the lens. So they're not direct, you know, the like behind that diffuser is not the straight LED, it's coming off a reflector bowl in there. So anyway, so that's how that works. So the other option I tried was actually taking the lead off of here and then powering the Depo controller, and it actually works that way. So I'll wire that up right now. Alright, so now I wired up the China controller right there. I wired it up directly to my power supply. It's fused. I haven't activated it yet, so you know, I've just made all the connections to the output pigtail of this, and I'm going to kind of demonstrate what all the functions are coming out of this DR. So let me set the camera here, and I'll turn the lens so you can see it. Alright, so I think you can see that. So I'm gonna activate it with the blue wire, the ACC wire. It comes on. So now it's on. So I'm gonna do that strobing mode that I was talking about earlier. So I'm gonna apply 12 volts to it from my power supply over here, and so it goes. It's actually a little pattern there. So it goes back there. So that's the strobing mode. Next, I'm gonna do the dim mode. So, you know, this is if you had your parking lights or your headlights on. That's the white wire. And is that right? Yeah, the white wire. ACC power on, and then I've got the dim mode. So it goes 50% dim and full output. Alright, and then the other one was the turn signal. Touch it, it's gonna flash. So if your turn signals, it would flash like that. So it's back to normal. So that's that's what this China controller does there. The one thing I did notice though, I measured the output on that pin right here coming out of this guy through this whole circuit, and even though the max we were pulling was 0.6, it didn't pull more than 0.01 amps when I actually, you know, when it was actually in operation. So what that tells me though is that the board itself must have some more resistors in it that keep it from you know, getting too amps, you know, from drawing too much current, and which affects the brightness of it. So anyway, because yeah, that just switched off because it. What happens is with this thing, if you have ACC power on it, it'll shut off right when you know. Actually, I think it's designed to shut off about 30 seconds, 28 seconds after you remove power, whether it's ACC power or go from 14 to 12 volts. So that's what it's been doing. It's kind of flashing off. So. Alright, so I took these DRLs apart from the lens, and I separated basically the bezel part for the projectors, the diffuser for the front DRL. It's just, you know, clear pattern diffuser, and then the actual board and reflector bowls for the actual light. So you can see right there, you know, they've got those, and you know, looks like the first one's got a little, you know, different reflectors. There's a couple that are sort of just flat, and then some more that diffuse different directions and all that. So it was probably well designed from Stanley or Kyoto, or who, you know, the OEM manufacturers, and Depo just copied them all. But anyway, so, and then you can see the boards in the back. So that board and the wire coming out of it goes to that driver. But like I said earlier, the OEM ones on the bottom side, they come with a circuit board that fits right there. And what I think it actually does, I've never opened the OEM one, but I'm assuming this wire probably plugs to that board right on this side. And I've seen the ones, the OEM ones, where pictures of them where I can see that board, and then there's a 3-pin connector that you buy a harness separately. And on this, if this was an OEM, that plug, that hole right there would be cut open, and there'd be a cap for that, and that cap would have the wire that plugs into this board over here for the DRL. So that's the DRL's taken apart there.